Hi guys, today we're going to be talking about two different lineup of cameras. The APS-C line represented by the A6400 and the RX100 representing the point and shoot line. If you have noticed, the video is a little bit different today. We are shooting with the A7 II along with my 16 to 35 wide angle lens. So you will not get the creamy bokeh at the back, but because we are shooting with these two, I'm unable to use the A6400 as the main camera today. You get my point. Now, I've owned these two cameras for easily more than a year and they are really very compact options. Now, I also bring about my A7 II, but it's seldom used for videos. So today we're going to see what are the good and bad about these two. Now, before we continue, I actually created a Medium account, which I plan to create all these different articles based on the content on my YouTube channel. Some of the details and bonus footages will also be there. Do head on over, you might actually like the format. Now let's move on back to the main topic, which are comparing these two cameras. Now I do know that Sony has stopped producing the RX100V, but it's actually replaced by the RX100V-A. The specs are actually totally the same, so do take note if you plan to purchase this camera. Now we're going to be covering 9 different points today. Be in for this very long ride. Now let's talk about the first one, which is the sensor size. Now the RX100 have a 1-inch sensor which gives you a 20 megapixel photo readout. Now the APS-C have a sensor size 3 times of the RX100 and has a megapixel of 24. Where can you find this sensor size? As I open up this A6400, you can see that there's a sensor inside. Now that's the size that we are talking about today. Unlike the A6400, I can open it up and show you guys the sensor. The RX100 has a fixed lens and I'm able to open it up to show you guys. But there's a diagram right here, which you can check it out. Now this is a diagram of the actual size of the sensors. So due to this very fact, the sensor size actually makes a very big difference in the photo quality. So now let's use serial bowl as example. Now the RX100V represents a small serial bowl, whereas the A6400 represents the bigger serial bowl. Now if you have a small serial bowl, you're only limited to be able to put a certain amount of cereals. Whereas if you have a big cereal bowl, you can put cereal maybe along with berries and other things which you add, making it a much nicer cereal bowl with different variety. Now just like a bigger cereal bowl, you're able to put different things inside. For the A6400, you have a bigger sensor, you're able to capture details and things which this smaller sensor cannot. So the RX100V has a smaller sensor, which basically makes it weaker than the A6400 in terms of dynamic range, which encompasses details and colors, and the ISO, which is basically the low light capability when shooting in video. Now let's put things into perspective. This is the same subject shot with these two different cameras. You can see that the photo from the RX100, the color is a little bit stale and it lacks a little bit details in the shadows. You can see that the photo from the A6400 does so much better in terms of color and detail. The color is so much stronger and in the shadows you can see the details. Let's move on to our second point, which is the autofocus. Now the RX100V has a focus point of about 315, whereas the A6400 have a focus point of up to 425, as well as the new Sony Animal IAF. Now you guys have probably seen me in my other YouTube videos. I'm hardly out of focus. It's mainly due to this Animal IAF which is present in my A6400. This can make a very difference in auto shooting videos as your subjects might tend to be moving a lot. So the A6400 does win quite a lot in terms of video in this area. So here are videos taken from these two to see the difference in the autofocus. This is the footage coming out from the RX100 Mark V, and this is the footage coming out of the A6400. Now when we put the footage side by side, you can clearly see that A6400 focus a little bit better than the RX100V. Now if you are shooting humans, you'll definitely be able to see a bigger difference, but you guys get the point. Now let's talk about battery life, which is going to matter quite a lot for some of you guys. Now the RX100 have MPBX batteries, which are able to shoot up to 22 shots. A6400 have the MP50 batteries, which are able to shoot 410 shots. Now let's talk about shooting in 4K video. I'm able to shoot 4K video with my RX100V for up to 20 minutes, whereas for the A6400 I can shoot up to 1 hour. Now it matters quite a lot as sometimes I put this on the gimbal and I have to change it out every 20 minutes. It's actually quite a hassle comparing with this A6400, which I'm able to shoot up to 1 hour. So it does play a very important part if you are planning to use this for moving about 4K videos. Now one more thing that is irritating about the RX100V, it overheats quite a lot. I cannot shoot video beyond 15 minutes without this overheating, whereas this A6400 can last much longer. The other A6000 line are also known for overheating, but not as fast as the RX100 line. Now if you're not shooting in 4K like me, 1080p, you can actually shoot much longer without this overheating soon. So in this area, both of them does not have a very long lasting batteries, but this A6400 definitely wins in the area of battery life. With that said, I still have at least 3 other batteries backup when I'm moving about. Number 3, let's talk about mic input. Now the RX100V does not have a mic input, whereas the A6400 does have a mic input at the side. Now this will matter a lot if you are planning to shoot professional videos, but in all fairness, the mic that is on board Sony cameras are actually really quite good. Now do note that the RX100 which is the latest in the RX100 line, does have a mic input. Now, but it probably costs about 1,300, which is actually even more expensive than the A6400. But I'm putting it out there for all those who are really considering this compact size for the RX100 line. Now let's talk about touchscreen. Now the RX100V does not have a touchscreen, but it does able to flip this to be able to have a very good selfie camera, which is actually one of the important points for having this in a very light setup. The A6400 is able to do the flip screen, and you're also able to press for autofocus, which is really quite a big win in terms of versatility if you're planning to shoot professional photos or videos. I've actually done a tutorial right here, which I'm able to pull focus from one point to another. Besides just using it for manual focus, you're using it for autofocus, you're able to do this effect, which is really important if you're planning to shoot cinematic YouTube videos. Now, but one thing that is still a little bit disappointing in the Sony systems, you're unable to navigate in the menu using the touchscreen. So I did really wish that Sony would address these issues in the upcoming camera model. But in terms of touchscreen, I think the A6400 wins in the area. Now let's talk about IBIS, which is in-body stabilization. Now this will matter a lot if you are shooting in video. The A6400 does not have any form of IBIS. Now, but if you have a little bit more budget, the A6600 has IBIS, whereas the RX100V has only OSS, which is optical steady shot. To me, it's a tier below the IBIS, as the IBIS performs slightly better in my opinion. Now of course, certain lenses does complement the A6400 with OSS, but in terms of just the native body itself, I think the RX100 wins in this area in a slight bit. Now let's talk about ND filters. Now the A6400 does not have any form of inbuilt ND filter, but the RX100V or 5A has. Now do take note that the RX100 6 and 7 has already cancelled out this inbuilt ND filter, which is actually a downside. So if you want to consider RX100 5A, it's actually a very good selling point. Now let me show you where it's easily accessed. So for the built-in ND filter, all you need to do is just press this and just turn this, and you're able to cut down light just like that. So in terms of a built-in ND filter, this definitely wins in this area. Now let's talk about the weight and size. Now when we put these two side by side, you can see that there's an obvious difference in terms of the width and the height. If you're interested in the nitty-gritty details, I'll put it right here. This weighs at 403 grams, whereas this weighs 299 grams. I don't know how much difference that will matter to you, but in terms of portability, this still does win. Now let's talk about lens option. This has a built-in native lens of 28 up to 70 mm in the 35mm measurement, and has an aperture of f1.8 to 2.8, which is really quite impressive for an inbuilt camera. Now, but in terms of versatility, the A6400 definitely wins, as you're able to switch out to so many different Sony Alpha E mounts. Basically, the lens options and the aperture options for the lenses are unlimited. So in terms of shooting professionally, I think having different lens options definitely matters a lot. Now let's mention a few minor reasons which are not deal breakers for me, but might actually matter for some of you guys. Now the first one is weather sealing. If you are shooting in rainy or icy weathers, I would not bring my RX100V, as it definitely does not have weather sealing and would likely not survive as well as the A6400. Bluetooth support. Bluetooth support is definitely better in the A6400, as some accessories definitely goes well better with this, whereas the RX100 is definitely limited, but you're still able to transfer footages from your phone to the RX100. Time-lapse recording. Now in terms of software, these two does not have a very big difference, but to me, basically the A6400 wins because if you're recording in time-lapse, you need to record in a long period of time, whereas this overheats and has a poorer battery. So basically this can record longer and you're able to get better time-lapse photos or videos. Maximum shutter speed. This is a maximum shutter speed of 1/4000, whereas this is a maximum shutter speed of 1/8000. If you're shooting professional photos with strobe, this will definitely matter a lot as you can sync it better. Silent recording. Now this has silent photo recording, which matters a lot if you're shooting photos for wedding or for events which require to basically keep your volume down. Capture the very important moments which your client wants you to capture. Now let's conclude. In terms of pricing, this comes in at 850 USD, whereas this comes in slightly below 1000. If I'm bringing a bigger setup for the day, I do not mind the A6400, as it's still considered quite light even with the slightly bigger lenses. The RX100 does lose in terms of quality, but to me, if you're shooting photos, it is not that much. If you're shooting in video, then the A6400 will definitely win by a lot. And also in terms of shooting videos, this does have a mic option, which really matters a lot as you have a clip-on, lavalier, or boom mic. There are other options which you are able to find in this that this does not, as this does not have external input for the mics. So I hope you guys like this comparison of these two cameras. If you want to summarize stats, you can find it at Camera Decisions, which is right here. So just to let you guys know, I'm not paid by them, but this is actually a very good place to have quick comparisons between camera models. Do give me a thumbs up if you have enjoyed this video and leave me down some comments below regarding your opinion on these two models. A while ago I actually done an unboxing for the A6400, so you can find the video right here. I also cover reasons on why I got the A6400 along with my other cameras that I own. So do turn on the notification right here so that you hear the magical ding when I upload my next YouTube video. I hope you guys have a great day and I'll see you guys in the next video.